Oh, is it picking it up?
It's definitely picking it up. It's 1,000% picking that up. If I can hear it, the audience can hear it.
It's the most disturbing 10 seconds of everyone's lives.
No, I think it's okay. Now that the audience is properly lubricated, we're going to welcome you here to the Double D Experience.
Prime that asshole.
Thank you so much for your listenership on last week's episode. You got us back into the triple digits. We really appreciate that. We both had a feeling that was a really good episode. When me and Dennis actually have topics to talk about, that gelatinous gold gets a flowing.
The leaning tower just straightening a bit does us wonders sometimes. So we appreciate that from y'all.
So now that we have you right where we want you, don't make a joke about that. Mario doesn't seek hail anymore, but we're gonna be talking
preview of what we may be talking about later.
But we're gonna be talking about that later. But for now, I'm gonna steal the microphone away from Dennis, because me and Dennis did have a pretty serious talk about his life and my life and all sorts of good reaffirmations that a friend needs to tell a friend, the kind of stuff that really reminds you why we're in each other's lives and why humans are in each other's lives, period. And that's kind of what's been on my mind when I was at the gym, and more so when I was driving home from the gym. And after last week's listenership, now that I got all you fuckers right where I want you, I'm gonna say this, the other night, or not last night at the time I'm recording this actually, I went to Fusion. If you do not know what Fusion is, which I imagine a good chunk of you don't, it is my region's premier Smash Brothers local. I did not enter anything. I had no such desire to do so. I still don't. I have zero plans on going back to Ultimate. I don't have any plans on going back to HDR for a while either, at least not for just
But have you been following it lately? The scene just a little bit?
Actually, no. No, I mean, I would occasionally when the real big tournaments come around, but I'm pretty sick of Smash Twitter, especially, and just
have you unfollowed anybody on Smash Twitter?
I'm sure I have, but I usually just mute people. But Fair enough. I'm getting at is because that notion that Dennis is even laughing at right now, it's not an unfamiliar one to him, right? And the reason being for that, for you OG Double D Experience listeners, and I have to separate that because I know we've had a lot of new listeners since, and some people come, some people go, and just we welcome you on your own personal journeys throughout that. The main reason I started this podcast is because I wanted to very slowly distance myself from the Smash community, because I couldn't take it anymore for a huge chunk of reasons. I had no desire to improve at the game, really. I wasn't enjoying the game anymore. There was some intricacies about Smash Ultimate, such as the buffer system and sticky platforms that really got my goat. And after years of competing in Smash 4 and in Ultimate, I didn't have much of a reason to anymore, because a lot of my friends quit. I wasn't having fun anymore, and when you're not having fun, there stops being a point. Unless you really have dreams of becoming the top Smash player, and you have to force yourself and discipline yourself to do that, which, if that's your dream or that's something you want to do, kudos to you. Respectfully, there's a very slim chance of that happening unless you're willing to be that outlier, but that discussion's neither here nor there. We're talking about me right now. I quit for a plethora of reasons. My ex-girlfriend, whom we were not on speaking terms for a very long time, we broke up, and she left the scene, and COVID happened, and I left the scene for a long time. Commentary, which was my main grind in Smash, I felt like I'd come to a shrieking halt, because I wasn't picked for my region's majors anymore. Collision, which is the team that puts on the Fusion local that I was at yesterday. As well as, some other ones, like Apex, which I thought I would get, but I didn't. Let's Make Big Moves, I stopped getting picked for years, up until this year when I did it, the top 8 cut for NASB 2. Catch me at Gommel this weekend, by the way. It's where I'm at right now as this episode's going live. I'm actually competing in the NASB bracket the second this goes live, actually. So, if I don't post it, that's why. I'm too busy up-airing kids with my giant guitar sword with my goth mommy.
While also playing in an igloo, because, he's up there in Canada.
True. Yeah, that's true.
He had to, once he had to cross the border, he had to take he had to ride a local moose to the local. So
that'd be badass.
It would be badass, but
show up on an animal.
Moose are scary. They're like deer. They're like a deer's like roided up cousin that like you don't want to fuck with. Like,
For sure. Imagine how good they'd be at Smash if they had opposable thumbs. But yeah, I'm bringing all this up because the reason I started this podcast was because I was very bitter. I was bitter towards the world. I was bitter towards my ex. I was very bitter towards Smash and the Smash scene. Because I felt like I gave up so much of myself to it for maybe not much in return. And what I'm getting at here is being humble is very important. Because not only have I learned to not be entitled to commentary blocks and such things, it was just part of growing up and growing out of it. You know, I realized what it's sort of all about. It's like a game of give and take, really, because it's a very grassroots scene. Nintendo hates the fucking Smash scene, we all know that, so you get what you put into it. And I respect the hell out of TOs who, despite all the shitters they have to deal with, all the stupid bullshit, the logistical rules, banning all the freaks and like fucking weirdos and incels that come into the Smash scene and shit.
or the smelly people.
Having to deal with all that bullshit, I could never ever do that. I literally started a podcast to distance myself from it, but the reason I keep bringing that point up, right, is because I went to one last night, and the reason I went is because my boy Koopa, who we've had on the podcast before to talk about Sonic and the Sonic movies and whatnot, very popular Smash caster and Pokemon trading card game commentator and competitor in the area as well, and a very, very dear friend of mine. He was my commentary mentor for years. He went there last night because he was feeling confident and happy enough and also energetic enough to go for reasons. He had a gastric bypass surgery. He's down like 50 pounds already. And, he looks and sounds and feels great, which is really happy to see my friend do that, right? So I came through, and I offered because Fusion usually does remote commentary, right? They were doing local commentary for the top 8, and so I offered to do local commentary for them for the pools, so Kyle could finish top 8. And when that happened, they reached out to Gabe OG, who used to be my static co-commentator, to do it with me. We casted. It was like riding a bike. Really, like, you know, some shit don't change, really, like, ever. And we casted so many hype sets. A lot of old heads came through. It was a big local, like 60 people came through. A lot of upsets. A lot of the old heads beat some of like the new blood and whatnot, which was really fun to commentate. I got to talk about, like, you know, the good old days, which I have good old days when it comes to Smash now. And it was all in all like a really good time with friends. And you know, the reason I'm bringing all that up is because when I went to go get fried chicken at the place across the street, there's a fried chicken. I went to get a fat sandwich because I was hungry. And there were these guys there, some new blood whose tags I don't really know. I was going to make like one of those like Nasby 2, like Tri-State Smash Brothers tier lists of who they would main in Nasby 2 if they played it. And I looked at the list of like all the players in like the Jersey scene. And you were asking me before, Dennis, of how involved I am at this point, right? I didn't recognize half of them. Any of their names, really. I did not recognize a good chunk of the people on that fucking list, right? Besides, like, you know, my old friends and, like, the old heads, right? So, much like New York City or, like, you know, big cities when you're young or, like, trying to chase your dreams, there's a time to come to it and there's a time to leave. I made an analogy to Leon, the top Bowser player in the world at the local, that Smash Brothers to me was like that girlfriend that you spent your whole 20s with and kind of wasted your whole 20s with, if that makes any sense. It's like, what I realized, much like that girlfriend, is that I'm so grateful for the experience, but I still regret the amount of time I put into it. And much like Dennis with some of his struggles and what we talked about, I blamed Smash for that. You know, like, I spent all my time in Smash. I blamed the community's fault, whatever. It's not their fault that I couldn't leave. It's not their fault that it was the only thing I felt like I ever really knew. It's not their fault that I spent most of my 20s, you know, chasing something to the point where I didn't really know why I was doing it anymore. This podcast helped me achieve myself. It helped me grow a little bit more into myself, as well as just give me a treasured hobby, you know, that I get to do with my best friend, that I'm blessed to do, really, that I'm blessed that anybody even listens to at all. And I'm bringing all that up because I ran into some of the new blood, and, you know, I used to be so bitter. And I like to think it's Twitter that causes that. Twitter makes everybody seem so stupid, and it blows things up out of proportion for no fucking reason. And I've said for years that the Smash community would be a much better place if Smash Twitter didn't exist. But unfortunately, it's like a measure of give and take, because I was a communications graduate, you know, like from a top communications school. The medium is the message. And when the main hub that we use for communication is one with a fucking character limit that's designed to be addictive, I think it's going to create like some inherent problems and struggles that don't necessarily need to exist. But I digress. I was talking to them, right? And I was talking to Dennis today about it too, that, you know, despite every quarrel I've had with Smash, how much I've dicked on it, it's taught me a lot. You know? It's taught me to be, it's taught me how to grind something, which helped with my NASB 2 career and becoming the best Ember and becoming one of the top players in the world for the game. It's helped me meet people. It's helped me have some of the best friends I've ever had. It gave me the most meaningful relationship I've ever had in my life, the most meaningful romantic one, I should say, and one that I'm not rediscovering romantically now with her, but one that I'm rediscovering with her in a brand new way that's very seemingly beneficial, as well as a growth experience for both of us. A lot of that stuff wouldn't have happened without it, and what it's really taught me, you know, because it used to teach me and plenty of people the opposite, is to be humble. And I think that's important, right? Because like I talked to some of the new blood, and when I was casting their sets and I see some of the new young people beat the old heads, the ones from my generation of Smash, I saw some of the old heads from my generation of Smash beat the new ones, right? But what I saw in common from both of them, Dennis, was, you know, their adaptability. Like the look of fierce competition in their faces, you know, the fact, you know, like that mindset, that mentality shift in their eyes, like watching like the webcams and watching them compete with each other. They're fucking locking in, baby. And it's a beautiful thing because I experienced that so hard with NASB 2 now in a way that Smash stopped offering me a very long time ago. And I like to bring that up because, like, you know, as much as I've dicked on Smash, it's much healthier for all these young men and some young women, mostly dudes. So that's a whole separate outlying issue with Smash. But it's much healthier to see them doing this shit than being out on the street. Than, you know, like not having like a hobby, not having
the
a
young
place
ones
that
specifically we're talking about, right?
Yeah, the young ones, and like to having a place they feel like they can call home, to having a hobby that's helping them grow. And I told that to them, like, it's good that you guys are doing that, because as I get to tell them these things as like one of the, like, as a 27-year-old in the Smash scene, which is basically 65 in Smash years, I get to tell them these things, right?
Did they go okay boomer at all?
No, but they should have. They should have been like,
thanks, old man.
Stranger danger. No, they, even the ones that, because a lot of people know me from commentary in the scene.
Yeah.
So but even the ones that don't, when they find out who I am and I talk to them about it, a lot of them can be really cool about it. And what I was telling one of them is that I watched your set, like, man, I casted your set. The adaptability against John Pork was the guy's tag. His tag was John Pork. He was a King K rule player. Plays the pink one. It's funny as hell. Yeah, Smash players, by the way, like TF2 players, greatest fucking gamer tags of all time. That is one thing I will give to Smash players. The greatest ones of all time. Shoutouts to Hispanic at the Disco. Yeah, you heard that right.
Was that actually his name?
Hispanic at the Disco was one tag, yeah.
It's just like...
There's Jutu King. Jutu King is another great one. Both retired players. And then there's Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People, which is just a giant tag in and of itself. We literally just call him Why Do. Smash players have hilarious tags. But he felt very humbled about it too, because I told him, like, you know, you can apply what you're doing in Smash and learning while you're in college as a young player to other things. I'm finally realizing now as a 27-year-old, again, 65 in Smash years, that a lot of the stuff I did in Smash, you know, was accidental. The networking I did, people will be like, oh, how did you network as a caster? How did you cast majors, David? Every bit of networking I did, and networking was something was super stigmatized for me, as it was shoved down my throat in college a lot, to the point where, oh, if you're not networking 24/7, you will die. Like, you're basically wasting your life, you fucking loser. Why aren't you on LinkedIn right now? Like the fucking boomers telling us all that shit. And, yeah, so... And that's something that was super stigmatized, like, all, like, the networking came to me naturally. in the NASB 2 scene, becoming a caster for that, like, becoming, a respected player to the point where they, they vote me into their circles and whatnot and, respect me as a competitor to the point where I set out on my, like, journey to really be the best Ember in the world, and it fucking happened. Like, and that means a lot to me as a Danny Phantom fan and as someone who loves that character too, but that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't, like, taught the, like, lessons I learned from competitive Smash to begin with, if I didn't understand the platform fighter fundamentals. And I'm bringing all of that in full circle to say that as a 27-year-old man, again, 65 in Smash years, I'm starting to realize I can apply that stuff to myself for my other grinds. I dog on Smash so much saying I wasted my 20s in it. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. David, why aren't you doing your voice acting? Why aren't you took 1 million classes. Why aren't you doing auditions? Why aren't you writing? You have a pilot in your head that, like, literally never shuts up and stops talking to you. Why aren't you doing that? Fucking waste of breath and life. I blamed outside sources for that for so long, but you never get to progress in life if all you ever do is blame other shit for your problems when, at the end of the day, you can relay it back to yourself. Not in a way of beating yourself up, but in a way of, like, self-help and growth. Every problem I've had, every bit of bitterness I had towards it is something I can blame on myself. I didn't go, like, $4,000 in debt like some casters I knew that grinded the shit and traveled and went out of like pocket to, like, go and, like, cast international, like, majors and stuff. It just wasn't worth it to me. I don't know if it was worth it to them, but, like, now they're a top caster and, like, they're a respected one as they deserve to be on their grind. And that's just one example as all the many do. I could just sit here and blame them for saying, like, they worked hard or whatever. They worked hard at that and I didn't. That's how life works, really. You gotta humble yourself for that. And that's what I'm getting at here, humbling yourself, because I'm realizing you could take these things, apply them to your real life. I'm starting to realize every bit of networking I did in the NASB scene, all on Discord. It's all local or, like, it's all online stuff, really. I realized, why can't I do that for voiceover? There's Discords for that. There's communities for that. I was telling Dennis today with his struggles that no man does it all by himself, to let Dennis know how deeply, like, worthwhile it is for him to, love himself and how the great things that he could do in this world and the great things that he's already done for me just by him being himself and that he's done for his girlfriend, among, like, many other things, right? I'm starting to realize, the Smash taught me a lot, despite how much I dogged on it, and I think it's a healthier thing for young people to be doing, and I guess it is, for the most part, something that is worth fighting for, which is something that I didn't believe for so long, again, because of Twitter or whatever, making it seem like something so heinous and giving light and depth to such meaningless fucking things and having there be different topics of stupid discussion every week or whatever. It made the actual scene something that it's not. Because when I was with my friends last night and we were at the 30 Burgers at, like, 2 in the fucking morning, just all eating and, like, laughing it up with the old times with each other, like, that was some of the things that, just reminded me of what life is all about. And realizing that those memories are being created for the younger generation, to sound like an old man again, it rung through my head that, like, it made me feel like the kids are alright. And I didn't believe the kids were alright. And I think there are some reason the kids might not be alright, but those are more cosmic discussions that I don't think me or Dennis are willing to have here. But me and Dennis just had a very serious discussion about his life mostly and my life a little bit, and we touched upon this a little bit, and then I just thought about it so much on the way home from the gym today, so forgive me for prying on that for 20 minutes, but we had no real topics besides Paper Mario after this, so...
I mean, well, there was, like, other shit, but, like...
There was,
it's better to, like, start off, I suppose, like, with some heartfelt stuff.
As an old man in the Smash scene, I've learned a lot. And, I still want to do this podcast, but, it's funny that the reasons you start something, like, change as time goes on. Because I casted a Smash Local last night. It was super fun. It was with all of our old friends. That's what it's all about. It's about community at the end of the day, and things like Twitter are about, like, promote, like, discord and, like, separation and
somehow
discussions just to keep people on it and whatnot, and that changes the consciousness of people and makes things seem to be so much worse than they often are. You know what I mean?
It's also so funny too, because, like, Discord is, like, it's got its faults too. Like, I've been in some really shitty Discord communities. I think
when I said Discord, I meant literal Discord. Like, I meant, like, community Discord, not the app. itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do actually just still want to say though that like, you know, comparing it like at least to anything, any other platform to Twitter, like, and even just speaking on Discord for a little bit, like, you know, I noticed that like, you know, it's still got like all like the faults that any sort of it's not really a social media platform, so to speak. It's more like very a community based platform that like, you know, like you can make a channel over about anything and such. And like in the case of like Twitter though, like, you know, one could argue it's like, well, anything and everything could be like a discussion, right? And like to a certain extent, of course that's a very good thing. But, you know, comparing it to I guess in Discord where, well, for one, Discord has moderation. That's one thing that it has that Twitter doesn't, which like, you know, it goes a long way to kind of like, you know, getting rid of all of like the pieces of shits that like are usually on those platforms to begin with. There's always one asshole in a Discord channel, you know, there's always one guy who wants to start shit up, and like it's very much kind of the same way that like in Twitter is, but in Twitter there is no law to it. Like it's very much, yeah, it's open and
anyone can see this. It's
which,
not,
you know,
yeah.
Like I say, you know, again, it's a good thing, but a lot of times it just leads to really bad shit at the same time. Like you just kind of leave the doors open for idiots, hateful fuckers to kind of just say whatever the fuck they want, and then like from there just kind of run free, because there's no real consequences on Twitter. There's really not.
Or promoting
like,
just dogpiling on people for your stupid
or that
little,
too, yeah. Like they're just being assholes.
Likes and
like,
your attention. It gives people egos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I very much hate Smash Twitter, but like the Smash community, yeah, you know, I still have my gripes with it. Don't get me wrong. You know, like I still think there's a time like to you to join it and a time for you to leave, to the point where it's like, okay, you know, like it's done its duty, its service in your life. And it's time for you to, like, you know, sort of, like, grow up and do some, like, other things, really.
And that's
like,
also with any community either. Like, you know, whatever you're a part of, like, thing. It's just, like, you know, at least in Smash's case, it's, like, very much, like, a competitive sort of environment. So, like, you know, it's, like, got its own identity with that right off the bat. And it's, like, even the same if you're, like, even playing, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Or, like, any sort of, like, competitive game. Like, you know, there's always, like, the discourse that kind of goes on about it. And, like, you know, it's kind of cool to see and cool to hear, but, like, there's also like the whole dark side of it too, that like, you know, it does breed a bit of like toxicity. It can, not that I'm saying it does, but it can. And a lot of times when that does happen, it's just like, you know, you as like a person that's not even a part of that toxicity, you're just kind of like, like, you know, I'm just gonna bow out for a little bit and like just kind of not be a part of it.
Tier lists of real human beings, which is cringe. You got like, you know, petty drama stuff that like people get docked or longered for that can sometimes be serious shit, oftentimes is not. And, you know, realizes into the grander issue of where you are as a grassroots Smash scene with TOs who don't know how to handle these issues and whatnot, so they take to Twitter for it, and it becomes like a public consciousness kind of thing. That's the kind of stuff where it's just like, I'm too fucking old for all this stuff, or like, exactly. Or whatever. That's the kind of shit that makes Smash just feel like a teenage wasteland, which, you know, is what part of what made Smash have its issues back in like 2020 and whatnot. Like, you know, I'm not sitting here and saying it's perfect, but what I am saying is that I was very bitter to it for a very long time, but once you stop putting that pressure on yourself and realize on a day-to-day that you're trying to be the best person you can be, like, really, and start to realize, like, you know, your path is your own, and the stuff that you took from this wasn't as useless as you think it is because it's your own path, if that makes any sense. Realizing I can apply what I've learned here to other things makes me realize, even though you're not where you want to be in life, you know, you're exactly where you're supposed to be because you didn't learn nothing. And that's what, again, this is not to toot my own horn, but what becoming a top player in a game for the first time, which I didn't think I necessarily would for NASB 2, but I did. People ask me questions about Ember and stuff, and, you know, they think I don't ask questions to the other ones. It's like, I ask questions to the other Embers. I stole a lot of shit from those fuckers. Are you kidding? I stole a lot of their moves.
A lot of corporate espionage.
I saw their clips, and I was just like, Oh, I didn't use that. I didn't even think of that.
I'm going to use that tech. I'm going to use that. Yeah, it's the same way also. Like, I mean, with even like, I guess, for Yu-Gi-Oh! Players to a certain extent, it's like we have so many, I guess, professional players now that are YouTubers that put up their stuff, you know, on YouTube for everyone to see. And like, you know, it's like, hey, I tried this out and I tried this deck out or I tried this card out. It's like, you can try it too. And like, it's very much like kind of, there's almost there, like, I feel as if there is almost no gatekeeping within that game, because it's like everything and every resource is just kind of out there, and like it's the only
Can't say
thing
the
that
same for Smash.
and the only thing that restricts restricts people in Yu-Gi-Oh is like a paywall, because the game is expensive as fuck, and like it's very much not a children's card game by any means. Like, do not be fooled again by that pack that says meant for ages, I don't know, 6 and up. Like, no 6 and up child. Well, I mean, I say that, but like there is a thing called Dragon Duels at crazy big events where it's like it's like actual children, like, you know, playing the game and stuff. They're like just separated from into a separate bracket compared to where, like, let's say a lot of adult players are at, which is kind of where, like, you know, obviously like where the money comes in, like these adult players like that have the disposable income to buy those cards in the same way, because for a kid's case, like, you know, little Timmy's not gonna be fucking saving up $1,200 to play like, let's say, a meta defining deck, and like, you know, actually, like, you know, like he's not actually gonna buy that deck. It's just not gonna happen unless his mom and dad really love him.
Unless his
like
daddy's
just decide,
trust fund,
yeah, like, you know, that's what I'm saying though. At least as far as like, you know, kids enjoying the game, especially, and even like in the case of Smash and like New Blood coming in, like comparing that a little bit, like at the very least, like, you know, Smash is lucky in the sense where it's like, okay, they have that accessibility, because it's like you have all these resources online, like, let's say, guys like with guides about a certain character and how to use them in certain texts, and like how to just kind of
so many YouTubers.
Exactly what I mean. Like
Twitter, you can learn from the top players on Twitter if they post that kind of shit, or which I don't know. That depends on which one.
Barrier
all that shit, yeah.
That's why I'm saying the barrier to entry is so much lesser than what it is in Yu-Gi-Oh. Because for one, not that I'm saying that like Yu-Gi-Oh is like a way more complex game than, let's say, Smash. I personally kind of do feel it is, though, just because of how like technical certain card games can be, and there's a lot of niches and nuances that you have to be aware of, and a lot of like minute details that you especially have to be aware of, because if you miss that, let's say, one detail, or you miss, let's say, a certain move, it'll just cost you the game right then and there. There's just so many things you have to keep track of within the game.
Same
that like
Smash.
Yeah, and like, so, but at the very least, it's like, at least, you know, for the way that like at least Yu-Gi-Oh has been like kind of manufactured for like its player base, it's like let's say, okay, yeah, I want to get back into the game, right? For Smash, it's like, okay, I just need to have my Switch. I just need my Switch and my game and a decent controller. That's 3 things. You don't need nothing else. For at least in Yu-Gi-Oh, if you, let's say, want to be like, oh, I want to get like play a tier 1 top competitive deck, yeah, be prepared to be shelling out like hundreds of dollars just to like even play the deck. And I'm almost kind of envious of a lot of other card games now, because I see this where Pokemon TCG, their decks are literally like a meta defining deck is like $30. $30 fucking is insane. For like, if Yu-Gi-Oh players hear that, they think it's insane, because it's
You're
like,
saying Yu-Gi-Oh is less accessible for that reason.
yeah,
it's
just
way
in
more
terms
expensive.
of money wise, it's just way more inaccessible.
You know, Charlie,
like,
Critical's got like a Yu-Gi-Oh card collection that's worth about, I think.
Yeah, I've seen.
It's like
$100K.
$100K.
His collection.
It's what he used in his poker game against Mr. Beast. He didn't gamble with actual cash. He literally bet his collection.
Did he win?
Yeah, he did. He actually beat
okay.
Mr. Beast in that card game.
Okay.
It's still on YouTube. I think it's on Charlie's channel.
Okay.
You should watch it. It's a ride. And Ludwig was the dealer.
Ah.
Yeah.
At least, yeah. Like, just kind of wrapping up this little bit too, because like I know that also, like, the older you get, the less time you have for a lot of the things you enjoy. If that makes sense. Like, it does happen, and like, you know, for all, like, let's say you young guys who are getting into these sort of hobbies, and like, you know, you're getting into it fairly young, count yourself lucky that you're in, like, that you're able to enjoy that to the fullest extent at your age. Because for one, it's like, not that I'm saying like, you know, all you guys don't have responsibilities. I'm sure you do, but at the very least, like, when you get older and you have shit like credit card debt and, you know, your career to think about and all that shit, things do seem to kind of take a back seat when it comes to like comparing to that stuff that you have to worry about. So again, like, think for any of you guys, like, think again, getting into these like these great hobbies, learn to enjoy them, and at the same time, like, learn to treasure those memories as well, because like, it's just gonna be one of those things that hopefully when you look back on it like later on down the road, or maybe let's say you stick with the hobby for until the day you die, maybe you do, I don't know, but like if but you'd want to be able to look back at it 10 years from now and like kind of just think of all the fond memories you made and all the people you met and all the kind of experiences that you got from that. Because at least in my case as well, me coming into, I guess, like playing Yu-Gi-Oh again after like playing paper like at a locals like thing for the first time in a while, like because like I had picked up the game around COVID, but like obviously I wasn't gonna attend like remote duel tournaments, like I wasn't really gonna be doing that. It was very much kind of like just collecting for nostalgia's case, and also I had stimulus check money because it was like fuck it, like why not, and but it wasn't until like about maybe a year or so that like I was actually playing like locally at a shop with other people. And like I have like a circle of friends now that like I didn't even think I would ever meet. Looking back at it, like I didn't think it would kind of happen the way it did. It just did. And and
so looking back now, are you like me? Were you like me in that you used to tell yourself that you wasted all those years of your life? Or are you more like me now, where you say that like, yeah, maybe you regret like a little bit of maybe you spent too much time in it, but you absolutely don't regret that time, because you didn't learn nothing. Because that's where I'm at now.
I would say so. Yeah, I think it's just very much like a sort of progression that you're just gonna have to go through when you're in a scene and like you've been in it for a while. At least in my case, being not even really that long in the scene with Yu-Gi-Oh, it's just very much like the things that had happened kind of happened so quickly in a way. Like I didn't think like I'd meet all these new people in my life and like actually like have them be a part of my life to begin with. And like it's like, I guess in a way just sort of like something that you really never really like think about going into it, because it's like who's really thinking, oh yeah, like I'm gonna go to a locals or whatever, right, for the first time in your life and just kind of think like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like make all these new friends. I mean, I'm sure you may be thinking of it, but like it's just you don't expect it to kind of happen in a way, is what I'm saying. Like you're not really like thinking about it, but when it happens, it still surprises you.
When it happens naturally.
Yeah, because no one's like you trying to force a friendship. Like it's not gonna happen.
Every bit of networking I did in the Smash scene, I did by accident. Like they would just go to post-tournament diners. That's a huge tradition in Smash, and I just asked to come because I wanted to just be there and still talk about the game with people and have fun and feel included and stuff. And I was fortunate that I had very kind people to take me in the graces of their arms and do that, really. So if anything, I should look back and count myself as fortunate. And despite, again, me being, 27 now and not having accomplished a lot of the things, that I want to in life, comparison is the theft of joy. It's another reason Twitter is very, very bad, among many things. It's leads to the detriment mentalities of many young people, as well as even old. But I think to conclude this topic before we wrap up to the next one is that Smash taught me to humble myself, and being at the local last night, as well as my experiences comparatively with NASB 2 and dealing with a community on Discord instead of Twitter, as well as all online as opposed to offline, and as opposed to being really, really, really good at the game, as opposed to being just, a mid-level player in Smash, it reminded me that as far as a competitive mentality goes, it's very comparative to life, in that I've always said that in Smash, or in fighting games, or like even card games, really, you either win or you learn. It's not that you win or you lose. What I've really realized, even now, even better than you either win or you learn, it's that once you stop learning is when you stop winning. You think I stopped learning from being the best Ember player? If I stop learning, that's when I start to get fucked. That's when I start to lose. That's when, people start to body me and I lose to players that I don't normally lose to. And I don't do as well in the brackets and whatnot. It wasn't until it was pointed out to me by players like Connor J and Blazing Pasta, two other really, really good top players, way better than me in NASB 2, some bad habits that I have. Advice I didn't even ask for that they just felt like they needed to drop on me on the day that I almost gave up on Ember because I'm just like, I think it's her. Like, I don't know if like she's like holding me back or if she's just not good enough to race in this meta. The next day is when I beat Locus, who is like the tip-top NASB 2 player right now. With Ember, in bracket, when he was untouchable, winning Dutchman's Dungeon every single week, and I beat him, and everybody on Twitter was gassing me up for it, like when I said it, because I literally said, like, I just beat one of the best NASB 2 players in the world. Holy fuck, I'm literally shaking. Jesus Christ. And then the next week, I beat Sparks, who got third at LMBM and shit. Was casting that guy's set, and then I fucking beat him. None of that would have happened if I either, one, gave up on Ember, or said, meh, I got nothing else to learn. I pretty much mastered the character. Time to just move on to Danny and just like mash buttons like aimlessly because that's the fucking issue, right? You know, it really goes to show the mentality issues in Smash. You know, most people don't have that dog in them, but that's just the nature of the game. That's what separates, you know, top players from the chaff. And I'm bringing all that up because, like, you know, final thought here before we wrap that is I realize now, why have I wasted so much time not putting that exact mentality just to life? To the things I want to do for a career, to the things that I blamed Smash for taking me away from, for being the only thing I knew from taking me away from voice acting and writing, when that was my fucking choice at the end of the day. I can't blame other people for that. That's a loser's mentality, really. And I'm starting to realize, why can't I just do that for other things? And if I can apply that to myself, why can't you? And after seeing the New Blood last night, it made me feel like the kids are alright, because, like, you know, they're just on their own path with it as well, which I've realized is just a part of getting older, Dennis. And it feels good, actually, not bad. You know, people would say, like, oh, you're 27, like, your 20s are almost over, blah. Growing older is a privilege that's denied to many, many people. And a lot of people don't get to grow older, which is very sad, but if I can apply that to myself, why can't you? If I can get all that I've gotten just through the, like, seamless networking or, you know, just talking with people in Discord, just doing fun stuff that I love all the time and stuff like, you know, my NASB grinds and whatnot, why can't I do that for voiceover? Why can't I do that for writing? Maybe that's what, you know, maybe that's what made me think things seemed always... Maybe that's the kind of thing that made me think the people who are doing what I want to do, the Squilliams in my life, basically, to my Squidward, maybe that's what made it seem like what they do is so easy. Because to them it was. But it's okay, because I was doing the same thing. I was just giving that energy to stuff that maybe wasn't necessarily worth my time anymore. But I'm realizing now that doesn't mean I wasted my life or my time. I realize now it taught me things. And I think that's what's really part of it. You know, that's what really ties it all together. So that's my spiel. That's what's been on my mind. I had to get all that off my chest. And
for 40 minutes, guys, you had to take that get off his chest.
I'm sorry.
For 40 fucking minutes, you had to get that off his chest.
I'm sorry. Well, listen, you got your topics. You get your moments sometimes in some episodes where you done talk for a real
But we're not talking about me. We're talking about you today. You and your 40 minutes.
Well,
and
I'm
your
done.
soapbox.
I'm done now. If you want to spend the rest of the time talking about something that's very eerily related, very slightly, some pretty sick quality of life improvements in the 1,000-Year Door remake for Switch.
Which, you know, as far as, like, I guess the last topic for this episode today, that we're trying to squeeze in here.
Yeah, we have like 20 minutes until the bracket. We gotta go.
It is the one game that I've been, like, I guess just really excited for, just based off of nostalgia, if that makes sense. Because, like, it is the one Paper Mario. Well, I haven't really played any other Paper Marios after 1,000-Year Door, but, like, it is the Paper Mario game that I never finished. I got up towards the end, and I could just not beat the Shadow Queen. And I just never was able to beat it. And I lost my disc, and I don't know where the fuck it went. That was $100 and something that just kind of went out the window, like, because I just never was able to preserve it. And I have preserved a lot of games, but Thousand Year Door was just the one that I did not preserve. Like, I have a lot of my old games in like old cabinet in my living room, but Paper Mario is just not one of them for some reason. I don't know why. Like, I have Pokemon Coliseum, which is already like a pretty well like sought after game, but like obviously it's not mint in box or anything. I don't do that shit, but like, you know, it's still like there, like, and I could play it if I want to.
Even so, it's still like, pricey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so like, at least for Thousand Year Door, it's just kind of like got that very much like unfinished business type of vibe to it for me, because it's like, you know, it's, you ever play a game or you ever like kind of like, you know, drop the game and like you kind of sometimes look back at it and kind of regret that you'd never finished it. And like, you know, and I'm not talking, and this is not like a jab at David either for not finishing Sonic Frontiers or anything. It's just kind of like, it's just very much.
You can't even jab me on that because you didn't finish it either.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I can't even say nothing because that's why I'm going off of saying that. Like, I know plenty of people that I'm sure that do feel that way because like, either like, you know, they just dropped it for whatever reason or another game took out your attention. There's always like a variety of reasons like thing as to why that happens, but you know, that's why like, at least for me, this is kind of like one that I've been really looking forward to because I do plan on finishing it at the very least. Like, I'm very happy that like I got to finish 7 stars when I got it. So like, you know, it kind of, you know, to be fair, those 7 stars was also very much it was very much a shorter game than, let's say, Thousand Year Door. Thousand Year Door was
not that much, really.
Maybe, but like, you know, as far
probably
as like,
a little shorter than Thousand Year Door, I would say, but not by like a giant margin. I mean,
but the thing was that like Thousand Year Door actually, like, you know,
Thousand Year Door is more NPCs, I guess, more room to explore. I
suppose,
guess, but like,
I suppose, yeah. The combat obviously is still turn-based and stuff, but like for me, they're
insanely similar games, really.
Well, yeah, obviously. I'm saying though, like as far as like kind of Thousand Year Door goes, like when I was playing it, like it felt like a long game. I don't know why, but like a lot of RPGs, just for me, feel like you better strap yourself in for like a week or two, because like, if this is the game that you like plan on finishing from start to finish, it feels that way sometimes. And you know, at least in my case, it's like, you know, going back to it again is like getting me really excited. Don't really think I have the money to kind of feasibly say, oh yeah, let me just wantonly like drop $60 and like
I'll buy you a copy.
Well, okay, guys, I
will do it.
Okay, you heard it here first, folks. David out here,
dude. After that story
in.
of you like saying you lost your disc, I feel like Patrick reacting to SpongeBob telling me he lost his name tag. I feel like I need to hyperventilate right now. That's how I feel. I will absolutely buy your copy if you feel like you're not good for it. I don't give a fuck. I
appreciate that, man.
Yeah, but I will say Thousand Year Door is a little slower paced by nature. But that's okay because it's a different type of experience. It's a much more storybook one as opposed to Mario RPG, which functions way more like a Final Fantasy game than anything else. But as far as quality of life changes, Dennis.
Oh yes,
there's some stuff that's a little bit speedier. There's a instant partner switch now. I don't know if you saw that. They added that.
Oh,
you don't need to go to the menu anymore or anything, or even
have like
even working on the D-pad. There's a button that you hold. It's probably going to be the left trigger bumper because there's an extra bumper on like the Switch controllers and whatnot. It's going to bring up a partner menu in the overworld, like a little like list of the partners, or like a rotating bevel, like in Donkey Kong 64, where the partners on it appears.
Oh yeah.
And you just switch it right on the world map. Like right in the overworld, like you don't have to go to the menu anymore. Which that's gonna be good. That's gonna like.
Didn't the first game have partner switching like that?
It had a different type of fast partner switching, but it wasn't as fast as the bevel, I don't think.
Okay.
I mean, the game's not out yet, so we don't necessarily know. But it seemed faster because you don't even need to go to like the menu anymore. Oh no, you want to know what it was? In the partner switch in the original Thousand Year Door on the D-pad. Each direction of the D-pad was mapped to a different part of the pause menu. One was mapped to the items, one was mapped to the partners, one was mapped to the journal, like where the special items and whatnot were, and the world map was.
But you still had to navigate through the menu.
You still had to go to the pause menu to switch partners, yes. Now you don't gotta do that no more. Now you can do it right on the overworld, which that's gonna be really convenient for fighting certain enemies. Like, one bad thing about Thousand Year Door, which you don't even really see as a flaw because it wasn't a flaw, maybe by modern gaming standards it is.
Yeah. Because convenience is so strong.
Yeah,
it's such a strong thing for us.
There's an enemy right there. Oh crap, they have spikes. I want Koops for this instead of Goombella, but you have Goombella out, so you pause to try to switch to Koops.
The downtime you
meanwhile,
have.
Exactly, because of the downtime, that fucker's already running towards you. It's like, no! Then all of a sudden, a little message comes on screen. Your enemy struck first. Fuck!
Yeah.
And then you rage quit, and then you break your copy of Thousand Year Door, not realizing you blew $300 by destroying that disc. But the point is, we have that now, and there's concept artwork built into the game in the journal now. They just revealed that today on the journal menu, and discography. Just like in Mario RPG, where it has the soundtrack built right in the menu, and you can just switch songs and stuff. Say what you will about Daddy Nintendo, but I'm just saying, sometimes they do it right, and they know how to feed us. They know what we want.
That's like Nintendo's way of telling you, it's like, we're never gonna put our music on Spotify, but
basically, if
you buy the game, you'll get the music that you want. And I'm just like, it's like half you guys are such pricks, and at the same time,
that's still fuck Nintendo.
No, it's still fuck Nintendo. But I'm just kind of
Nintendo
it's
moment
still
in my opinion.
I'm Fry squinting my eyes at them. I'm just like,
shut up and take my money.
It's just but you're still pulling back the money a little bit, because it's still who doesn't like Nintendo music, right? We've loved Nintendo music ever since the first Mario, right? So it's obviously we'd love a fucking soundtrack of it, or even
I was listening to the Mario Wonder soundtrack today. Some tracks in that game go hard.
Yeah, and we would love that to be on Spotify or whatever fucking platform that we use to go listen to music. But obviously Nintendo, just being the gatekeeping dickheads that they are, they just not gonna do it, I guess, ever at this point. I think that is their way of saying oh, you want the game's music? Buy the game, and there you go. There's the music. It's such
a fucking $60 album?
It's such a fucking dickhead thing to do, and it's so classically Nintendo as well.
And we're gonna go give them our money anyway.
Just you know what? At this point, it is what it is. If it's either you illegally rip the music and just have it as an MP3 and have your own playlist thing with it, or you buy the game, and if you want to listen to it, then there you go, boot up the game to listen to the music. It is what it is. And I don't particularly like it, but it's hey, if that is your avenue to listen to Nintendo songs, I guess that's one way to do it.
Thank Christ for YouTube.
Yeah, thank Christ for YouTube.
Fucking God, man.
Thank God for YouTube. Thank God for their fair use guidelines and all of that. Even though a lot of times the fair use guidelines kind of just got it circumvented a lot of times. It is what it is.
Even if Nintendo were to be a massive dickhole and do that, which they have for YouTube channels like Gilva Sunner. How dare you stand where he stood? Whenever you remove us, one other will take its place.
We are legion.
They really have deleted so many music channels for them, but then another one just comes through.
There's no ending to it. I feel as if at one point they realized
Nintendo, you're wasting your fucking time.
Yeah, they
really.
kind of just realized oh, there's no reason for us to go after these guys anymore. We kill one and 10 more take their place. It's a fucking Hydra. They just can't we just can't stamp them out. So it's fucking
Hydra.
It really is. It's just look, we could stomp on them all we want, but there's more of them that just come out anyway. So it's fuck it. I guess as long as they're not monetizing it, then fuck it. We have no problem with it.
So it's an old game that you're not re-releasing. So what do you expect us to just never hear those songs again?
Yeah, come on now, Nintendo. Come on. Oh yeah, I guess because we're coming up on time, you're just gonna I guess speak a little more. It's another quality of life. I don't even know if it's quality of life, but it's just more so sensitivity reasons. Mario's famous Hitler salute.
Oh God,
is not in the game no more. And David
dude,
mentioned
can I
this
just
one.
say, before you even get to the catcalling shit, even as a child, as a goddamn child. I thought that's what that looked like. when Mario did that. As a kid, I thought that's what that shit looked like. I knew it was a wave. Like, as a child, I understood. Even as a kid, even as a kid, I knew the nuance where I knew it as a wave. Or like a little salute is what I thought it looked like. I thought Mario it was very stoic of Mario to do. I thought it looked cool. But then growing up, when I became an adult, I looked at it and I'm like, oh.
Like, it was like him saluting the troops. It's like, you know, like a lot of times you see like in those old photos in the videos of Hitler, like kind of just being around people. Every time like they kind of like threw the salute at him, he just always like threw his hand up, like,
yeah,
you know, that's kind of what Mario always did. Like,
hey,
yeah, it's just like, sup,
hello.
It's like, you know, hi Hitler. It's just kind of like, sup.
Hello, Goebbels.
Hello, Goebbels. Hello, Goering. You know, just throwing like, it's not even. Like,
it sucked because the stoic salute that he did in the old game, I think, looked way cooler. Because even in the old game, they meant for it to look like a wave, and there's something very much more like charming and like video gamey about it when he just goes like.
That's why
like
I'm kind of sad. I'm sad that it's gone because it's like.
As an adult.
It
looks like Mario is seeking hail to the fatherland. That's just what fucking looks like, dude.
I'm not denying that, like, at all. It's just like
I
don't know. Like, I guess when I see like things like that, like, because it's like charming in its own weirdly Nazi way. I guess like it's because it's like, you know, we don't think about that, right? But as kids, like, you know, David argued like, okay, yeah, if I saw that. Like, I saw that and, like, I straight up thought, like, he was just throwing the whole, like, you know, Sieg Heil, like, thing at him. But then...
As a kid, I knew it was a wave. But when I became a little shit kid, when I hit 12
you're just
or whatever,
like, hey, yo,
I look back at it and I'm like, hey, yo, what the fuck?
Is he doing the... He is!
And we make fun of it like Sieg Heil. But there's something more video gamey about it. The new one where he just, like, puts his hand in front of him, no one waves like that. It looks more like a handshake than anything.
Yeah. It looks like he's just like trying to dap him up. It's like, hey.
What they should have done, in my opinion, is they should have just given him a little animation where he like puts his hand back, reels back, and then like just jumps forward a little bit with the wave, like hello, like a little quick thing like that, to the point where his body motion discerns that he's not seeking hail to the fatherland. That enough would have been enough, but like whatever, you know, like you don't want him to move during a cutscene, so.
And
whatever.
I also just wanted to say too, like, you know, going back to like a lot of those like, you know, I guess little details about like the old game that like we always just found like it's just part of the game's identity, right? And like, you know, just amidst like all of that, I know like obviously like, you know, as far as like people's sensitivity is like kind of one could say I guess changed less so than evolved. Like the sensitivity is now like kind of changed in a way where it's like, okay, like we have to keep aware of like a lot of stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm just like, man, like, you know, no one really, like, you know, said, like,
yeah,
oh,
like,
yeah,
I know what
like,
you're bringing up now. You're gonna bring up the catcalling shit, right?
Yeah, that too. Like,
because I feel like, come on, they're in the ghetto. Were they trying to be like Rogueport? Like in Rogueport, dude. Here's what I'm saying, right? But what we're bringing up here is that there's a scene at the beginning of the game where Goombella and Professor Frankly go with Mario to find the 1,000-year door when Mario first gets there, and they run into some youths, some ruffians, basically some rogues,
some inner city youths,
some rogues in Rogueport. Oh shit! I just hit my mic. I'm sorry about that. And the whole thing of the town is that it's supposed to be fucking ghetto. Mario gets robbed in the first fucking like 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
They're 5 minutes. A bandit just run past you and you lose half your coins for no fucking reason. Like it literally just happens. And they literally just do that to be like, look where you are. That's it.
That's all. It also establishes the fucking place you're at. It's like, this is the kind of place you're at.
That's what I'm saying. So like they go to the sewers, which is where like the super ruffians are basically. And a bunch of Goombas pull up, like, to dog his ass. And,
it's like, hey, yo, cutie, let me get your number. Like,
Goombella's the Goomba with him, and they're just like, yo, hey, mommy. Hey, what's up? And like, what are you doing? Yo, what are you doing with this, like, this human, like, this scrub, or whatever?
Yeah, why are you hanging out with that 5'10" ass, like, motherfucker? Come out with these 2'10", you know, homies
being
out here.
Shorter is, like, more, like, it's, like, more, like, worthy for Goombas. Oh, sorry.
Wasn't there like a fucking King Goomba in the first game? He was like fucking 7'10". Like the dude was huge.
Sorry about that.
So does he get made fun of like by all the others? He's just like, this guy's tall. Look at him. Fuck this guy.
The shorter you are is like the status symbol for Goombas. Basically,
Yo, can
the
you
mini
imagine
ones
our
get
world?
the most Goomba puss.
Can you imagine our world if it was like that? Tall people are like kind of made fun
Yeah, we'd
of.
be fucked.
And then
we'd
you
be
know, like
omega
short,
fucked.
literally like short kings are.
Because now we have this shitty podcast to turn women off, and now we're tall, so women don't like us.
Oh, double whammy, huh?
Yeah, no, that's the double D experience.
It's true.
Point is, they got rid of that, but they keep the noose in the center of the town.
Oh yeah.
Which makes me think, like, okay, so catcalling's not okay, but fucking suicide is, or like, you know,
Or
town
executions.
ritualistic hanging.
Yeah.
And the body too, and like there's a one scene where like Mario's in the gang member's house, and there's a fucking chalk outline on the ground. Yeah, that's gone from the remake too.
Why? Come on.
I'm just saying, you know, it's one of those examples. I'm not gonna get into this now, but like,
Yo, kids are not that stupid. Kids
I
have
know.
watched like Breaking Bad. What the fuck?
I'm just saying we're still demonizing sex but glorifying violence, and that shit's ass
Yeah,
backwards.
that's not
Whatever, we're not getting into that now. We're done. Plugs.
We hope you guys enjoyed
Spotify.
this episode.
5-star review, please. Leave a good review wherever you listen. Apple Podcasts as well. YouTube.com/Nintoonist, which is where I know most of you do. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you're most excited for 1,000 Year Door. Or if, like, my whole spiel about Smash and my life journey and experience.
Or even hobbies, whatever you enjoy.
Yeah.
Just talk about it.
Let us know. And leave, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you all so much for the love on last week's episode. My tourney's starting in literally 2 minutes, but I have a bye, so I have a little bit of time, I suppose.
Yes, the bye.
I have
X.
the bye. Succeed. CC number 6. Whoa. 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 We're done. We hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you all next week for the next podcast.
David's going to be recording from Canada, so it's going to be quite cold where he's at.
That's a lie. I'm not going to do that. It's going to be cold, but I'm not going to record.
Be fun.
I don't want to.
Recording from an igloo. Pretty nice.
Better have some good-ass Wi-Fi.
I'm sure they do. It's free.
All right.
Just like their healthcare. Actually, no, that's fine. No, it's like, I got that. I fucked that up. Okay.
I got it. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.